So here's a question. The Avengers have had a lot of people as part of their lineup from their introduction in 1963 until their presumed destruction at the end of Time Runs Out. And so if we had to pick the top 6 most powerful Avengers in the history of their entire lineup, who would they be? Well, in this video, we're going to be answering that question by counting down the top 6 most powerful Avengers in the history of Marvel Comics. And we're going to be kicking this list off with a number 6 spot with none other than the character of Deadpool. Now, a lot of people may be scratching their heads and saying, huh? Deadpool was an Avenger. When did this happen? Yes, Deadpool was an Avenger. In fact, Deadpool became an Avenger for the very first time in the history of Marvel's continuity with the Axis event when the Red Skull had used the brain of Charles Xavier to resurrect the powerful villain Onslaught. Now, during this battle with Onslaught, or I guess as we referred to in the Axis event, Red Onslaught, what we find is that among the heroes who have been almost completely incapacitated are Tony Stark. And Tony Stark had basically had his armor completely drained of its power source. And so while he was basically in this helpless position, what we found was that Deadpool had arrived to get Tony Stark back into the fight. But the only way that Deadpool would do this is if Tony Stark agreed to make him an Avenger. And so while the Axis event left a lot to be desired, while the story wasn't as great as it could have been, I would say that Deadpool's celebration of being inducted into the ranks of the Avengers by replacing the lyrics from Smash Mouth's I'm a Believer with I'm an Avenger is probably the single greatest moment in the Axis event. So coming in on the number 5 spot on our list is Hyperion. Now, as we've discussed in a previous video, Hyperion is a superhero from an alternate Earth with a history that follows almost identical to the history of Superman in DC Comics. Hyperion was born on a dying world in an alternate reality where he was sent basically from that dying world to that alternate reality's version of planet Earth. Now there he was raised by a man named Father, and he was basically taught what it means to be a contributing member of society. And he actually went on to form a superhero group or a superhero team called the Squadron Supreme. But when an incursion, that is to say the collision of 2 Earths, took place in this alternate reality alongside another reality, what we found was that once these universes collided and both universes were destroyed, that Hyperion was the sole survivor. And so Hyperion had basically been plucked from his alternate reality and brought into the mainstream Marvel universe, where he eventually became a member of the Avengers team and even part of the Multiversal Avengers, which was a group that was sent into the multiverse to try to find a way to stop the incursions, which of course, as we know, they were unsuccessful, and Hyperion was killed alongside Thor Odin's son in the battle with the Beyonders. Now, number 4 on our list comes in the form of the Incredible Hulk. And I would say there's really no reason to run over the powers of the Incredible Hulk here. We pretty much know what it is. But as a character with infinite strength, the Incredible Hulk clearly belongs on any list of the most powerful Avengers in the history of their lineup. But I would say one of the more powerful and one of the more impressive displays of the Incredible Hulk's power actually came during the World War Hulk event. What had happened was that prior to World War Hulk, the Incredible Hulk had been cast out of the planet Earth by Reed Richards, by Charles Xavier, by Tony Stark, by Black Bolt of the Inhumans, and Doctor Strange, a group that basically made up the name of the Illuminati. And the result was that when the Incredible Hulk returned back to the planet Earth during the World War Hulk event, he was more pissed off than he had ever been in the history of his continuity. In fact, he was so pissed off, he was so mad, and with his strength being corresponding directly to his anger, that he had stomped on the ground, and the result was that it had shaken the entire eastern seaboard. Now, this version of the Incredible Hulk is referred to as Worldbreaker Hulk, and the reason why was because this version of the Incredible Hulk was so incredibly powerful that if he wanted to, he could have simply broken the planet Earth in half. In fact, it took a fully powered Robert Reynolds the Century to fight the Incredible Hulk to a dead standstill, and the two of them actually reverted back to their normal human forms in order to get the Incredible Hulk to stop. The Incredible Hulk wasn't really defeated, he wasn't knocked out, he was basically just fought to the point of exhaustion. And that, I think, is probably one of the most incredible feats in the history of any superhero to go against the Incredible Hulk, but it gives us an idea of just how powerful he is. Now, number 3 on our list comes in the form of Kevin Connor. Now, Kevin Connor is a superhero known as the Star Brand, and with his character, what we're going to start doing here is we're going to start moving away from the run-of-the-mill superheroes, that is to say, superheroes who have power like, super strength, who have healing factors, who have energy projection, things like that, and we're going to start getting into the territory of stupidly powerful characters, of characters who are so ridiculously overpowered that it makes you wonder, why in God's name are they even in existence in the comic books, let alone on the Avengers team? Starbrand represents what is basically the next stage of human evolution. He is more or less of a protector of humanity as it's supposed to evolve into the next stage of its evolution. But as we know, because of the multiversal collapse, this is not going to happen. Because Starbrand is basically a protector of humanity and whatever its next stage of evolution may be, the power of Starbrand isn't necessarily split up into things like super strength and so on. It's simply that he has enough power to fight any foe, regardless of how powerful that foe may be. Now, these are characters who are confined largely to the people that we've seen him face so far, so we have no real idea what the upper limits of his powers are. But basically what Marvel tells us here with Starbrand is that he has infinite power, that there's no limit to how much energy he can put off at any given point in time. What we end up finding here is that with the collapse of the multiverse and the battle of the Beyonders towards the end of Time Runs Out and the start of Secret Wars, that Starbrand actually is alongside Thor, Odin's son, and Hyperion during the battle with the Beyonders and sacrifices his life by letting off all of his energy at one time in an effort to defeat the Beyonders. And so the result is that Starbrand is now gone from the Marvel landscape. He's now totally eliminated from that landscape entirely, and we may or may not ever see any version of him again. Now, coming in at number 2 on our list is Dr. Stephen Strange. Now, as a Sorcerer Supreme of the mainstream Marvel Universe, there are very few things that Dr. Strange can't do. By employing various magical artifacts, Dr. Strange is capable of the following feats. All right, here are the following things that he's capable of doing. He's capable of energy projection, of astral projection, that is to say, his spirit or his mind leaving his body and traveling to another plane of existence. He's capable of energy manipulation. He has cosmic awareness. He can manipulate portals to other dimensions and even manipulate those dimensions itself. He has pyrokinesis, where he can basically control or manipulate fire. He has a power of flight. He can make force fields. He has an enhanced healing factor. He can hypnotize people. He can cast illusions in the minds of other people to make them see, think, feel, or hear anything that he wants. He has the power of invisibility. He has a power of immortality. He has the power of necromancy, that is to say, the ability to bring people back from the dead. He can phase through solid matter. He can take possession of other people. He has the power of telekinesis, telepathy, teleportation, and time travel. Jesus. This guy can do everything. There's really no limit to what it is that he can do. He is a vastly powerful character. And so the question becomes this: if Doctor Strange can do all these things, then what Avenger could possibly be more powerful than him? The most powerful Avenger in the history of Marvel's continuity is Squirrel Girl. I'm just messing around. It's Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is the most powerful Avenger in the history of Marvel Comics. The Scarlet Witch can do pretty much everything Doctor Strange can do here, but the difference is that she also has the ability to warp reality. And this is really what made her powerful. Now, we don't know if Doctor Strange doesn't or does have the ability to warp reality. It may be that he does and he's never used that power before. But the fact remains that the Scarlet Witch had basically warped reality in its entirety during the House of M event, where she had basically switched things in a way where Magneto and her family, I guess the family of Magneto, were the head of all mutant society, with humans being under mutants in this new world. This was a whole new universe. Not only that, not only was this reality changed, we actually find out later on that when the Scarlet Witch had warped reality and set everything back, and she had stripped all the mutants of their powers, that it was a multiversal effect, that in other realities in the Marvel multiverse, that mutants had lost their powers there too because of the actions of the Scarlet Witch. And so, and that, I would say, makes her the most powerful Avenger in the history of the Avengers team. With that being said, give me your top 6. Tell me what your top 6 most powerful member of the Avengers are, because I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. With that being said, I will catch you guys later. Peace.